You just got wrecked.
Oh!
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of Crypto Zombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having a great start to your weekend. Having a look right here, a little bit of a mixed signal across the board, right? Bitcoin is up slightly. Some of the altcoins are down slightly. Very mixed signal. In fact, some people are getting a little bit nervous about this pattern because, well, we all know what happens when Bart Simpson shows up, right? Well, there is that potential for a double top. Maybe something like what happened around the $10,000 level before Bitcoin fell massively. That could be a possibility, but there may be a chance for a pump in the cards as well. You can see actually right here, we are actually slightly above the 50-day moving average, and well, we're getting very close again to the VPVR. So I would expect a pretty massive move for Bitcoin relatively soon. It is the weekend. Things could get a little bit crazy. Also want to talk about the fact that, guess what? So yesterday, we were saying, hey, maybe Bitcoin had that pump because people were actually investing their US stimulus checks. Well, Brian Armstrong, the CEO of Coinbase, actually pointed out that the percentage of buys and deposits that matched pretty much exactly $1,200 had a massive spike. So not necessarily saying that that was what was behind the pump, but yes, people were in fact spending their stimulus money on Bitcoin yesterday. So that is actually kind of interesting that we now have that data to be able to talk about. And I also want to go into this article that came out from Bloomberg talking about money losing its meaning and people losing faith globally in the overall fiat systems. Also, we have the top 5 news of the day. I do want to get into all that today. If that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you are not subscribed, well, you're definitely going to want to consider sticking around for today's video, because I also want to talk about the fact that we're getting a little bit of mixed signals from the institutions. You're seeing massive accumulation, but also lots of people moving into stablecoins. Big move ahead. Well, let's dive directly into the charts. You can see right here, we were actually able to break above right here, this resistance. We're actually sitting above it. However, if we do have a look at essentially, you know what? Let's start with the good news, actually. Let's start with the good news first. The good news is if we actually look at what Light Crypto is saying, he says acceptance of this price level comes from new buyers absorbing profit taking and miner selling. After 1 month of consolidation, it seems that tension will be resolved shortly with enough kindling built up for a strong leg. Feels like $8,000 is at hand. So is that possible? Well, you can see right here that we are above the 50-day moving average, which is good. It's been holding us down for quite some time. It actually held us down right here when Bitcoin attempted to have a bit of a bounce back. We got heavily rejected. And right here, it held us down again, but currently we are sitting above it. However, we do know that the next big level to overcome is this VPVR right here, which is sitting at about the $7,200 level. In fact, you could see yesterday, we wicked directly up to it and had a pullback. So it's already providing a bit of resistance. However, we do have this very massive support right here. So we don't have much time. I mean, literally, if we were to bounce around and get all the way to the end, you're looking at around April 25th, which would be next week. However, we know that Bitcoin is an impatient asset and it usually doesn't get to the end of the move. It usually has a breakout before that, right? So the next level would be right here at around almost the $8,000 level. You can see right here, it was providing support back when we had the pump on January, in the beginning of January. And right here, we had a little bit of support before the massive fall, which took place in mid-March. So that's sort of the positive, maybe. That's the bullish news. So on the slightly bearish side, however, even though Don Alt says this isn't really super bearish, by the way, check out Don Alt on Twitter. I do appreciate his analysis. He says we should have closed below 7,000 for that to be super bearish, but it's awfully close to how the $10,000 top played out. He says, I'm just chilling, waiting for something more obvious. Now you can see right here, basically, if we look over on the weekly, keep in mind, look how we did perfectly get held down by the 7.2K level. I still do expect this 21 exponential, this green line right here, to also provide some resistance. That's around the 7,600. But getting back to what Don Alt said, you know, we basically had this really nice rise, and we had this sort of top out and major dump, and he's sort of saying that this looks like a very similar pattern where maybe we have the same thing followed by a dump. So that could be one possibility. However, zooming out, keep in mind that staying above the 200 weekly moving average is in fact a very bullish situation. I would consider it to be. That is sitting at around $5,658. So yes, we could potentially retest that level. It is possible. In fact, the other day on the Crypto Lark, he asked me in his interview if I thought the bottom was in. I do believe that the ultimate bottom is in. However, it is still possible to see potentially a wick below the 200 weekly. You know, we did go below it shortly when we had that crazy panic sell-off. However, ultimately, I do expect the trend to hold. However, if you are an ultimate Bitcoin bear and you just want to short the Ponzi, well, that's why we have products like leverage over at Bybit, which is very high risk. I do not recommend it for beginners, but if you're looking to make money, even if the price of Bitcoin goes down, you can use leverage over at Bybit. I do have a tutorial popping up above. If you want to use the links below, it does support the channel. You can also get a $90 bonus. However, we need to talk about something that's been happening, which is in the past few months, the outstanding value of the top $6 linked tokens or stablecoins essentially has surged by more than 25% to about 8 billion. So what does this mean? Is this good for the hodlers? Is this good for all of you out there dollar cost averaging? Well, it could mean that some investors are a little bit wary of the current price situation. Maybe they're waiting to buy in. Some people that are maybe still scared and never rode the wave down from the 3.8K level, right? That is one scenario. But I do want to point out the fact that, yes, we did have a lot of people using their stimulus checks to buy, although I can hear some people saying, well, that's just stupid retail. Well, not necessarily. You can actually see over here that a recent financial report from the Grayscale Fund, you know, GBTC, right? The company is holding about 1.7% of the total Bitcoin circulating supply, which is around 360,000 Bitcoin. Now, Ivan on Tech actually pointed that out, and you can see right here, this did come from their official report. If you want to check it out, I will drop the link for the official report below. But yes, this is showing you that retail is accumulating, institutions are accumulating. Maybe the whales are waiting to buy a little bit lower. I don't know, but it is definitely showing some interest in Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies. In fact, you can see right here, daily trading volume in Bitcoin options listed on major exchanges being Deribit, LedgerX, Bakkt, OKX, and CME rose to about $86.4 million on Thursday, the highest since March 16th. So this is definitely showing massive interest. However, we need to talk about something that is a little more kind of obvious right now, which is the fact that unemployment is absolutely skyrocketing and average people are not going to be able to continuously buy the dip when there's no money coming in because they're unemployed. You can see another 5.2 million workers have filed for their first week of unemployment. This now brings claims up to 22 million, or about 13.5% of the labor force. This is insane. This is really crazy, guys. The last 4 weeks have marked the largest and most dramatic rise in claims on record since Labor Department started tracking the data in 1967. I mean, look at this. Look at how what was basically happening. Boom. This is crazy, right? So basically, according to Brian Colton, he's the chief economist at Fitch Ratings, he says that April is bound to be truly shocking. He estimates the unemployment rate could rise to about 15% in April, a new post-World War II high. Wow. Many economists believe that the spike in unemployment will be temporary and that many, but not all, of the lost jobs will come back. However, we did discuss yesterday what happens if these restaurants open. Are people going to feel comfortable with a waiter standing over them, waiting on them, right? I don't know. Are you going to want to eat your food, lift a mask up? Are people really going to be flying on airplanes? Is retail, stores, outlets, are people really going to be shopping and buying clothes? I don't know. It could be kind of interesting to see what happens, but ultimately the forecasts are uncertain, and the economy recovery will depend on, of course, the virus. However, amidst all of this, you see this article from Bloomberg coming out saying money is losing its meaning. Now, I've actually highlighted a few things from that. You can see 12 major economies, including the US, China, Eurozone, and Japan, show that the aggregate money supply has already more than doubled to $80 trillion from before the 2008 to 2009 financial crisis. I mean, these numbers are becoming basically I can't even picture numbers that big in my head. Can you? Can you picture $80 trillion in your head? I certainly can't. So they say these numbers are so large that they have essentially no more meaning. They're simply abstractions. Pretty much what I was getting at just now. So they say the dollar has no real intrinsic value. It's backed by only the full faith and credit of the U.S. government. I think we all know this by now, especially if you watch these types of channels. Under a fiat currency system, the government says, hey, it's a dollar, so therefore it's a dollar, right? Gold is considered to be an objective store of value, and we have seen gold's rise in terms of dollars. However, that can also be expressed in another way, which is the dollar fell in gold terms. The same way if you actually go over to Google and instead of doing BTC to USD, I love to always put in USD to Bitcoin or USD to BTC, and you can actually see the reverse chart, which shows the dollar falling in comparison to Bitcoin. So we always, value, BTC USD, but if you actually flip it to USD to BTC, this is a chart of the dollar. And I always like to ask my fellow subscribers, would you buy that shitcoin? I certainly wouldn't, unless you're looking to buy the dip, which good luck on that one, right? However, we could see scrolling down here that it's not crazy to think that government spending may reach $10 trillion for just 1 year. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. I was watching a documentary on it's America in Color, it's called, and they were talking about the Great Depression in the 1930s, and that was only billions of dollars. We're talking double-digit trillions here, okay? The numbers can only go up from there. So nobody really knows how this is going to turn out. However, in smaller economies, runaway government spending has resulted in hyperinflation and social unrest, such as well-documented cases in Venezuela and Zimbabwe. In fact, we've seen Venezuelans literally making bags out of bolivars, right? Essentially, and then selling them for dollars. The paper is so worthless. They use it I saw one kid using it as a pile, as a ladder of literally like dollars or, bills, bolivars, to literally get into the back of a truck. Ridiculous. So they say perhaps it's not one of those questions we'd really like to answer as far as what could happen to the US dollar. Now, I do have 5 quick stories I want to bang out before we get out of here, and then it is on to the weekend. So, number 1, we have Binance Chain Community releasing their white paper for enabling smart contracts. Yes, so you could see over here, essentially the Binance Smart Chain will be run by 21 validators, similar to EOS and Tron, with a proof-of-stake authority, consensus mechanism. This will support a short block time and low fees. BNB, of course, will be the native token. It will also be compatible with the Ethereum virtual machine, making it easier for dApps to be used across both platforms. The question is, will these developers move from, Ethereum over to Binance? Do you think that this is going to be a big threat to Ethereum? What are you guys doing? Are you investing in Binance? Are you sticking with Ethereum? Are you sticking with just Bitcoin? Or are you interested in other altcoins? What do you think about this? We have our second bit of news of the day, which is the fact that, and this goes to show that some of these mining companies are still very positive as far as Bitcoin. You have MicroBT, a Chinese Bitcoin miner manufacturer, which is neck and neck competition with Bitmain, launching 3 new machines. They believe that the Bitcoin mining hardware market is now entering the 3x era, low power consumption ratio, high stability, and 1-year-long warranty services. So, if these guys thought that Bitcoin was going to zero, why would they be spending all this money creating these next generation miners, right? Next bit of news, number 3. Unfortunately, we have Purse.io, a Bitcoin startup that helps users shop on Amazon using Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash and trade gift cards for crypto. They are now unfortunately shutting down. The announcement was a little bit convoluted. They didn't really go into why they're shutting down. They just said to users, we've made the very difficult decision to dissolve the company. We're grateful for the opportunity afforded by our supporters to build products and infrastructure for the cryptocurrency community. Another one bites the dust, unfortunately. Not exactly the greatest news for the Bitcoin community. I am interested why they decided to close down. Maybe it just had something to do with users' profitability during these uncertain times. Number 4, this is some interesting news. So we have Donald Trump appointing the former CEO of Bakkt and current senator of Georgia, Kelly Loeffler. This is very interesting. So basically, she's now part of the emergency task force. She tweeted out, "Thank you, Donald Trump, for appointing me. With 22 million Americans filing for unemployment, it's clear that we must start working to revive our economy and get the American people back to work safely." Very interesting how she resigns from her backed position, which clearly is a Bitcoin futures platform, and now she's working for good old Donnie Trump. Very, very interesting about that one. And final bit of news today, we have daily average value of transactions across Ethereum blockchain is now matching that of the Bitcoin network. Lots of Ethereum supporters are saying, see, I told you, well, okay, let's actually break this down for a second. You can see that a lot of this actually has to do with the fact that many stablecoins are on Ethereum. For example, USDT, Tether. Tether, in fact, has seen higher volumes than Bitcoin on certain given days, right? That could be one possibility. However, you can see that it has reached roughly 1.5 billion per day, which does match that of Bitcoin. So let me know what you think about that below. And also before we go, friendly reminder that I just want to let you guys know once again that Ledger does have their family packs. You can get 3 Ledger Nano S's or 3 Ledger Nano X's for 27% off. If you're interested in how to set up your Ledger Nano X, I do have a tutorial above, and we do have links below for that as well. That's it for me today, guys. Thank you again for coming back, supporting the channel. You guys rock. I do appreciate your support every single day. My name is K-Dub. This is Crypto Zombie. Until next time, stay crypto. And of course, peace out.